What's up, anatomists? My name is Danny Jones. I am your human anatomy instructor, and I am super excited that you're joining me on this educational course because this course is super cool. Like, we learn everything about you, and that is the coolest thing about it. Like, when do you get to talk all about you? It might be a little bit more detailed than you were anticipating, but hey, that's still really neat. So I hope you find as much interest and fun in taking this class as I do by teaching it and enjoying the material. All right, so with that being said, this course has a lot of detail, right? Like, there's a lot of things that are going on in your body all at once, and you're not even thinking about it. We're gonna dive into all of that. Because of the amount of detail that is present in this course, it is going to feel a little overwhelming. And I'm just throwing that out there so that you can brace yourself for that feeling. It does not mean that you can't be successful. In fact, there's students all the time who succeed in this class and do very well. I want you to be as successful possible for you, okay? And with that, I also want you to set yourself up for greatest success for your future and your future profession, whatever major you choose to be. This class, Human Anatomy as well as Human Physiology, is a known prereq for physical therapy, occupational therapy, medicine. So if you're going to become a doctor, a surgeon, a nurse, anything of that sort, this class is needed and you have to do well in it to be able to stand out from the rest of the crowd. So let's just knock it out of the park and do well from the get-go, and you'll be on your way to human physiology with a breeze and a lot of work and effort. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, let's get into some tips and tricks to help you become successful for this class. Number one, short study sessions. Now, that doesn't mean that you hardly ever look at the material. It means that you look at the material often and often enough that the time frames that you're looking at it is repetitively throughout the day. What I mean by that is don't take a whole 8-hour block and study it straight through. No, instead, study 20 minutes at 9 a.m. to 9:30-ish, 9:20-ish. Then take a little break, revisit it at 10:15. Okay, maybe you work. Okay, great. While it's down at work, go through your material real quick. Before you go to work, review your material. At lunch, go and study. At your break, whatever the case may be, there's so many times of opportunity for you to study throughout the day. The cool thing is too, is you're a walking study guide. Like, you just point to your body and you just talk your way through it. Trust me, you'll find out who the anatomists are in this world because we all talk to ourselves. It's a real thing. Promise ya. So don't feel shameful about talking to yourself out loud. I used to do it all the time when I was studying. People thought I was wild. They're like, what in the world is wrong with her? But you know what? Ace those classes. So it works. Plus two, then you find some study buddies because they're like, ooh, yeah, I know that material. I hear it. Okay, anatomy, right? So don't be afraid to do that. Study often and review the material a couple times. Don't just look at it once or think that when you go to lecture and you're listening to it that you can just write it off on that and say, yeah, I saw it the one time, I'm good. You're gonna need to revisit the material. Okay, number two, ask questions. This is about your body. You should be super curious or ask the questions that you're struggling with. Questions create scientists. Don't feel ashamed for asking questions. I don't know what it is, but it's like people get really nervous about asking questions that like maybe I'll judge them or think that they're stupid. No way. I love questions. Oh my gosh, questions are what helps us stay curious, and that's what allows us to discover new things in science. There are going to be things that you may say and I'm going to be like, I've never thought of that. And I want you to bring that to the table. Plus two, if you have a question, more than likely others do too. So ask the question, and then that way we can all be on the same page. Number three, find a study buddy. Whether it's online or in person, whatever the case may be that this course is being held in, find someone that can hold you accountable. It is so beneficial to have another person who is going through the trenches with you and they know what it feels like. Because I'm going to let you know, your friends and family who aren't in this field, they're not going to have a clue the amount of work that you're going to put into it. They're not going to know the stress that you're going to go through. Find someone in the course and talk to them. Get their phone number. Be friends with them. And from there, you can also hold each other accountable of saying, do you know this material? Okay, you don't? Step up your game. Let's go. All right? Plus, two, you get to study with each other, asking those questions before the exam comes. Be creative in your thoughts. You know how it goes from A to B, but do you know how the process goes from B to A? Do you know how it goes if you sidestepped and went to A? Try to think of it not just narrow-minded in a straight shot manner. Try to think of it in a reverse manner. All right, number 4, make sense and make connections of this material. If you have a family member or a friend who, let's say, has some kind of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, hypertension, whatever the case may be, and then we get to the cardiovascular system, you now all of a sudden can put 2 and 2 together. You can say, oh, this is what they're presenting. These are the symptoms they have. Why? Oh, I just learned about this in my lecture. And I know the anatomy from the lab, and I know exactly where the left ventricle is, and that's what's dying off. You can make sense of it, and that's how it's going to stick even more. If you don't have something that is a personal thing to connect with, then find something that you're going to go into the profession of. If you're going to be a nurse, how does this information apply to you? I'm going to try my best to bring any kind of pathophysiology. We're not going to be going over pathophysiology, but it's just something to get you interested in and grab that attention to make the connections connect, okay? Or make the dots connect. All right. Now, for some tips and tricks on resource or like tools to use, I would say flashcards. Flashcards are usually the number one thing that gets brought up whenever someone says, how'd you succeed for anatomy? Now, I'm not saying flashcards are the only way to go about it because not everyone does well with flashcards. But here's the thing. Flashcards, if you take a piece of paper, on one side, you have the question or the diagram. On the other side, you're going to have the answers. It is a blank slate for you to look at and then for you to quiz yourself. You get immediate feedback when you turn the flashcard around and see that you got it wrong. And then you're able to re-answer it, repeat it, and then you're able to then, on the next try, get it right. So flashcards are great for that. Number 2, draw over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There are going to be diagrams in here that you're going to need to know inside and out. Just a little hint, those diagrams are probably going to be on the exams. So if you see a diagram, if we're spending some time on it, know it. I'm just going to put it out there right now. Just know it. Know it enough that you can draw it blindfolded and label it and know exactly how and what is going on. Okay, so draw the diagrams. And then also to do mnemonics, meaning find whatever silly way to remember the information for it to stick. There are some things that I have remembered for years because it was absolutely ridiculous. The sayings that we had, oh my gosh, like you're going to hear some of them and it's going to stick. And it's kind of one of those initiation things that if you said that to another person and they took anatomy, they're going to look at you and be like, yeah, anatomy, good times. So whatever mnemonics help you remember it, then use them. There's also been some research that has shown that it takes about 7 times of repeating something for it to stick. Okay, so don't just say the word over and over and over again, hoping that it's going to stick. Grab a dry erase board. This is what I used during my school years. I used a dry erase board. I would draw it out, write it out. I would use my cheat sheet with me the first time. Go through it, I'd look at it, okay, and I'd go through it. And then I'd look at it, erase it, do it again. Erase it, do it again. I would write it over and over and over, and then soon enough, about the fourth time, I wouldn't look at it. Third, maybe. I wouldn't look at it. I'd do it. I'd get stuck. Guess what? I look at it. All right, keep going. And I repeated that until the point that I didn't have to look at it. I knew that inside and out, and I was able to do it frontwards, backwards, to the side, whatever the case may be. I personally found that dry erase boards do amazing compared to paper because you're able to erase it and feel free to draw, and you have a little bit more space for that. That does not mean that you need to go out and buy a dry erase board, okay? I'm just saying if there are resources that you have, utilize them. If it's anything like that, utilize it. If you have a sandbox and not a dry erase board, use the sandbox. Get creative with this, okay? All right, so that is wrapping up this quick video on your tips and tricks to help you be successful during this class. Remember, you're gonna have to put in the hours, you're gonna have to put in the effort. I know it's gonna be tough at some point in time, but it is amazing afterwards what you have accomplished when you're at the end and you're looking back and you now are at a whole new caliber. And I wanna get there with you, okay? So here's to the semester, here's to anatomy, you got this, let's kick some butt. See you on in there.